Hello Year 9s. This is a third lesson for you on business location, and I thought I'd start this with a video. Now, you've already thought a little bit about business location because you spent 2 lessons looking at this Lancaster map and thinking about where you'd place those 10 different businesses that I gave you a list of, thinking about why you'd put them in those different places, and hopefully you've come up with some really good reasons for that. Today in this lesson, I want you to think a little bit more about the reasons for why businesses decide to be in different locations. So first of all, a little bit of an example. You may remember the shop Clock Tower in Milnthorpe, which sells washing machines, cookers and other electrical and kitchen appliances. We passed them and looked at them when we did our tour around Milnthorpe. Some of you, I can't remember, some of you might have done a bit more research on them when you were thinking about local businesses. So Clock Tower's in Milnthorpe, but let's just imagine for a moment that they've decided they want to open a new shop in Kendal, maybe to replace the one in Milnthorpe or maybe as an additional shop. And they're thinking about this shop here, okay? Perhaps this shop has recently become empty. Currently it's a Peacocks, but maybe Peacocks have moved out, maybe they've closed down, maybe they've moved to a different location in Kendal. And this shop, imagine this shop is now empty, and Clock Tower are thinking about whether to rent out that shop as a shop to sell their washing machines, cookers, electrical appliances. Now, in case you're not quite sure where that is, I've got a little map here. Okay, so on this map, this is Strickland Gate. That's a bit of the start of the pedestrian area, the main pedestrian street down through the middle of Kendal. And there's then a little pedestrian bit. I think you have to go through an archway to get through to it, which is called Elephant Yard. Behind that, you've got Marks and Spencer's and a few other shops. You've got booths over here. Okay, and there's a few pedestrian shops, a few shops in the pedestrian area in Elephant Yard. So that's where we are here. Okay. And so we need to think about whether this is a good location for Clock Tower to be. Okay, so let's think about some advantages and disadvantages. Well, one advantage is that it's in a very popular shopping area compared with Milnthorpe. You get a lot more shoppers coming through Kendal and wandering around those pedestrianised areas than you do wandering down the main street in Milnthorpe. And so that means hopefully they'll get more passing trade, more customers who are passing them by, looking in there, seeing, oh, they've got washing machines and cookers and things, might want to buy a new one of those soon. So therefore they look at whether they go into the shop and have a look round, have a browse round, and then hopefully will remember to go in there when they next need to buy a new washing machine or cooker. It's also quite a large shop there, so washing machines and cookers and things are quite big products, so they have plenty of space in that particular shop to lay them out, to show their products. It's also closer to some of their competitors, such as Curry's PC World or other electrical shops that are in Kendal, other independent electrical shops. Now, you might think that's strange to put that as an advantage, and that's why I put a question mark after it, because sometimes that can be an advantage, sometimes a disadvantage. And the way it can be an advantage is that if customers are going to one shop looking for a washing machine, cooker or whatever, they might then also want to compare and have a look at other shops selling the same products. So if you are close to your competitors, it can be an advantage because customers that go to your competitors might then also come to you as well, and you might then have a chance of winning their custom from your competitors. Okay, so those are some advantages. What about disadvantages? Well, this particular shop, I imagine it would be quite difficult to get large appliances in and out, certainly through the main front doors in that pedestrianised area. They might well have some better access round the back along this road here to get deliveries in and out, but it's certainly going to be difficult for customers to get products in and out. Okay, another one is that it's not actually possible for customers to park immediately outside. If you compare it with Milnthorpe, there's a side street. You could probably pull your car up outside, immediately outside the shop. You could then open your boot, put the back seats down in the car and get a smallish large appliance like a smallish fridge or cooker or whatever into the boot of your car or into a van relatively easily without needing to worry about lugging that particular product a long way, whereas in Kendal, I'm not sure that customers will be able to park close enough to be able to transfer a product they've just bought straight into their car. Also, more generally, there's no free parking really in Kendal. Customers have to pay for parking, whereas in Milnthorpe, either the parking can be free in some areas, or you have to just pay a much smaller amount for parking. And then I've also got being closer to competitors is a disadvantage, because if you are close to competitors, it does mean that people will come to you, but then also potentially go to some of your competitors, and you're likely to have to make your prices lower than if you're in a place where you're the only shop that people know of in that particular area. Okay, so there's some advantages and disadvantages for Clock Tower moving to that particular location in Kendal. So when we're talking about business location, what we're talking about is a word that I'm going to call proximity. Okay, and I've not put this in a very good proximity on the slide here, because then you can't see my eyes anymore. It's right in the way there, so I'm going to have to move myself over. And I'm going to move myself this way so that you can see me and see the word there. So proximity is all about the placement of something, the location of something, how close it is. So how the proximity of something is how close it is. And we need to think about the proximity of a business in relation to 4 different things. Okay, and those 4 different things are, first of all, the market. The proximity to the market. Remember, we said before that the market is people. So how close is a business to its market, to the people that are going to buy from them? Secondly, we need to think about proximity to materials. What materials is that business needing? Okay, for Clock Tower, it's their products that they're buying in, the washing machines, the cookers and so on. For a manufacturing company, it might be the raw materials that they use to make their products. So the proximity to the materials can be important, okay, because it will depend then on how easy it is to get those materials to the product, to the shop, or to the factory. Okay, then there's proximity to labour. That is the people that work for you, people that you can employ. And the closer you are to people that you employ, the easier it is going to be to find people to work for you, and potentially the lower you're going to be able to set your wages. And then finally, proximity to competitors. How close are you to other people selling the same or similar things to you? And we've already talked about some of the advantages and disadvantages of being close to your competitors. So the bit of work that I want you to do now, and you'll see a table in the notebook file that I've attached this video to, is I want you to think about those 4 different areas: proximity to the market, to materials, to labour, and to competitors. And I want you to think about, when is that proximity important? When is it important to be close to your market? When is it important to be close to your materials, the things you need to make your products? When is it important to be close to your labour force? When is it important to be close to your competitors? Secondly, when is it not so important? When are these things not so important, or for what sort of businesses are they not so important? And then thirdly, what are the cost implications of either being close to those things, having close proximity, or being a long way from those things? So you've got a table there to fill in. I want you to fill in that table as best you can, and then there's a little follow-up video that I want you to look at there, where we'll talk a little bit more about that. Okay, so see you back here in a little while when you filled in that table.